Your college fund? Oh, honey, there isn't one anymore. My father laughed as he tossed the keys of a brand new Mercedes to his wife, the car he bought with my money. But he didn't know about the trust documents I had hidden in my backpack, or that I'd invited the entire family to witness what would happen next. It was supposed to be a normal Saturday afternoon in May. The kind where the sun feels too bright against your skin, and the breeze carries the scent of freshly cut grass. I was sitting at our kitchen table, surrounded by college brochures. Princeton, Yale, Stanford, dreams that had seemed within reach just a few weeks ago. My grandparents had started my college fund when I was born. Every birthday, every Christmas, they'd add to it instead of giving me toys or clothes. For your future, they'd say. By the time I turned 18, it had grown to almost $120,000, more than enough for a top university. When my dad walked in, I noticed it immediately. That smile, the one that didn't quite reach his eyes. He had that look he gets when he's hiding something. Head tilted slightly, shoulders too relaxed, voice a little too loud. Hey kiddo, big plans? He gestured at the brochures while opening the refrigerator, not quite looking at me. Yeah, I need to make my final decision soon. I was thinking we should go over the college fund, see exactly what I'm working with. His hand paused on the refrigerator door, just for a second, but long enough. Sure. We can do that. Sometime next week, maybe? Actually, Dad, I need to know now. Application deposits are due Monday. He closed the refrigerator without taking anything out, sat down across from me, drummed his fingers on the table. Well, there's been some adjustments. Adjustments? The market hasn't been great. Investments sometimes don't pan out. I felt my stomach drop. How much is left? He wouldn't meet my eyes. We might need to look at community college for a year or two. Build it back up. How much is left, Dad? About 12,000. The room seemed to tilt. 10%. He'd lost 90% of my college fund. What happened to it? Like I said, investments. These things happen. You're being dramatic. I knew better than to push him when he got defensive, so I just nodded and gathered my brochures. I see, but I didn't see. Not yet. That would come later. That evening, I called my grandparents. They were surprised I was asking about the college fund. We set it up as a trust, honey, my grandmother explained. Your father is the trustee until you turn 21, but it can only be used for your education. He sends us statements every year. A trust. With rules. With statements. Could you send me copies of those statements? Of course, dear. Is everything all right? Just planning, I said. The statements arrived by email the next morning. 5 years of detailed records showing steady growth. The most recent statement, dated just 3 months ago, showed a balance of $127,463.82. Something cold settled in my chest. Not sadness, not even anger, just clarity. I spent the next week investigating. I found the original trust documents in my mother's old files. She had died when I was 14, and my father had remarried within a year. The documents clearly stated the money could only be used for educational expenses. I also discovered something else. My father had been writing checks from the account, large ones. The first withdrawals started around the time he met Vanessa, his new wife, a woman 15 years younger than him, with expensive tastes and no job of her own. Then I found the bank records. My mother had kept meticulous files, and after she died, my father never bothered to clear them out. I found the account numbers for the trust. With those, I was able to request statements directly from the bank. The picture became clear. Over the past 4 years, my father had systematically drained my college fund, vacations, jewelry, home renovations, and most recently, $68,000 for a car. I didn't confront him, not yet. Instead, I made copies of everything. I consulted with my school counselor, who put me in touch with a financial aid advisor at the university. I explained my situation without emotion, just facts. They suggested I speak with a lawyer. So I did. A trust attorney who agreed to meet with me as a favor to my counselor. She reviewed my documents and confirmed what I suspected. My father had violated the terms of the trust. The money was legally mine for educational purposes, and he had misappropriated it. You have a strong case, she said. But legal proceedings take time. If you need this money for fall semester, we need to move quickly. What are my options? We could file for an emergency injunction, freeze the remaining assets, but the fastest resolution might be confronting him directly with what you know. Sometimes when people realize they've been caught, they'll try to make it right to avoid legal consequences. I nodded. And if he doesn't, then we proceed legally. But either way, you should be prepared for family fallout. Family fallout. As if this man who stole from his own daughter was family in any meaningful sense of the word. I decided to wait for the perfect moment. It came sooner than I expected. The following weekend was my grandfather's 70th birthday. A big family gathering was planned at my grandparents' house. Everyone would be there. Uncles, aunts, cousins, family friends. And my father, of course, along with Vanessa. The morning of the party, I saw them in the driveway. My father was showing off their new Mercedes to our neighbor. Vanessa stood beside it, hand possessively on the hood, diamond bracelet catching the sunlight. Another gift from my father, no doubt. Another withdrawal from my future. Isn't she beautiful? My father was saying. Special order, had to wait 3 months. I watched from the window as Vanessa twirled the keys around her finger. My college keys, my future, dangling from her manicured hand. At the party that afternoon, I stayed quiet, helped my grandmother with the food, smiled at relatives, answered questions about college with vague responses, still figuring things out, weighing my options. My father kept glancing at me nervously. He knew I'd been distant all week, but he seemed to relax as the party progressed and I didn't make a scene. After dinner, when everyone gathered in the living room for cake, my grandfather stood to make a speech. He thanked everyone for coming, shared a few memories, and then turned to me. And I'm especially proud that I'll be seeing my granddaughter off to college this fall. Your grandmother and I started saving for this day when you were just a baby. I saw my father shift uncomfortably in his seat. My grandfather continued, "We always knew you were destined for great things. Actually," my father interrupted with a forced laugh, "we might be looking at some more affordable options. The economy being what it is." The room went quiet. My grandfather looked confused. "What do you mean? The trust fund should cover any school she wants to attend." My father's face reddened. "Well, there have been some investment setbacks. Nothing to worry about. We'll figure it out." I stood up then, my backpack in hand, calm, centered. "There haven't been any investment setbacks," I said, my voice steady. "The money is gone because you took it." All eyes turned to me. My father's face went from red to white. "That's ridiculous," he sputtered. "I don't know what you're talking about." I unzipped my backpack and pulled out a folder. I have copies of all the bank statements, the withdrawals, the checks, everything. I handed the folder to my grandfather. The most recent withdrawal was $68,000 for a car. Vanessa's hand flew to her throat, fingering the keys that hung from a chain around her neck. My father stood up abruptly. "You've been going through my private papers. How dare you?" They weren't private, they were statements from my trust fund, the one that was legally established for my education. My grandfather was flipping through the documents, his face growing darker by the second. "Is this true?" he asked my father. "It's more complicated than she's making it sound," my father said. "I've been managing those investments for years. There were fees, necessary expenses." "A Mercedes is a necessary expense?" I asked quietly. The room was so silent you could hear the wall clock ticking. My father switched tactics. "You have no idea how much I've sacrificed for you. After your mother died, who took care of you? Who put a roof over your head? Food on the table? You're so ungrateful." "Ungrateful," I repeated. "For what? For you stealing the money my grandparents saved for my education? For lying to me about it? For making me think I couldn't afford college while you bought your wife a luxury car?" "That's enough," my father shouted. "You're 18 now, an adult. If you're so smart, you can figure out how to pay for college yourself." "Actually," I said, pulling another document from my backpack, "I've already figured it out." I handed this one directly to him. It was a letter from the trust attorney. "What is this?" he demanded. "It's a letter informing you that you're being removed as trustee due to breach of fiduciary duty. It also demands full restitution of all misappropriated funds, with interest within 30 days. Otherwise, we'll be pursuing legal action. Criminal charges could apply." His face contorted with rage. "You can't do this." "I already have. Grandpa and Grandma are taking over as trustees until I turn 21. The paperwork was filed yesterday." The room erupted, my grandfather's booming voice demanding answers. Vanessa crying that she didn't know. Relatives whispering in shocked clusters. My father pointed his finger at me. "You planned this. You deliberately humiliated me in front of everyone." "No," I said calmly. "You did this to yourself. I'm just making sure I can go to college." He stormed out, dragging Vanessa behind him. I heard the Mercedes engine roar to life, tires squealing as they left. My grandmother came to my side, put her arm around me. "Why didn't you tell us sooner?" I needed to understand everything first, make sure I had all the facts. My grandfather joined us, still holding the folder of evidence. "We'll make this right," he promised. "Whatever it takes." It took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of angry phone calls, threats, and finally, resignation. My father realized he had no choice. The trust documents were ironclad, the evidence overwhelming. The alternative was a lawsuit he would lose and possible criminal charges for embezzlement. He transferred the money back in full, including interest. Not from selling the Mercedes, Vanessa threw a fit about that, but from their joint savings and a home equity loan. Every penny. The family was fractured. Some relatives thought I should have handled it privately. Others supported me completely. My grandparents never wavered in their support. My father and I haven't spoken since that day. Sometimes I see him around town. He looks away. Vanessa still drives that Mercedes, though I heard they're struggling financially now. The house is up for sale. I did get into Princeton. Full ride, actually. Turns out my grades and test scores qualified me for a scholarship I hadn't even known about. The restored trust fund sits untouched, growing again, waiting for graduate school perhaps. Last week I received a small package in the mail. Inside was a set of keys, not car keys, house keys. A note from my grandfather explained they had purchased a small condo near campus for me to live in during my studies. An investment in your future, the note said, one that can't be taken away. I keep those keys on a simple chain around my neck, not as a reminder of what was taken from me, but of what I reclaimed, my education, my future, my self-respect. Sometimes people ask if I regret how things played out with my father, if I wish I had confronted him privately instead of in front of the whole family. I always give them the same answer. He made his choices publicly, buying cars, taking vacations, living the high life with my money. Why shouldn't the consequences be just as public? I learned something valuable from all this. Beyond just financial literacy and legal terms, I learned that sometimes the most powerful position isn't the loudest one, it's the most prepared one. My father thought I was just a naive teenager he could manipulate and control. He underestimated me because I stayed quiet. He mistook my silence for weakness when I was actually gathering strength. Next week, I leave for Princeton. New school, new city, new beginning. The trust fund is secure, managed now by people who actually have my best interests at heart. And I have those keys around my neck, a constant reminder that my future is mine alone. The Mercedes my father bought? I saw it at a stoplight last month. The shine has already worn off. There's a dent in the passenger door. Vanessa was behind the wheel, looking tired and annoyed as she argued with someone on her phone. I could have felt satisfied, seeing their perfect life showing cracks, but instead I just felt free. Free from the need for their approval, free from false obligations, free to build my own life without false dependencies or manipulations. As for that college fund, it's not just money anymore. It's a symbol of boundaries respected, of consequences faced, of justice served without screaming or begging. Just quiet, methodical truth laid out for all to see. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's simply making sure you get what's rightfully yours, and then moving forward without looking back. Though I have to admit, the look on my father's face when I pulled out those bank statements, that memory might stay with me through all 4 years of college. And every time I unlock the door to my condo, those keys remind me, no one can steal your future if you're smart enough to lock it up tight.